Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly and foremostly, welcome and thanks for your time. Thanks for attending the session, the new Natref Early Payment Program information session. Before we start, a couple of practical things and a couple of introductions maybe. Myself, Werner van Dalen from Intellection, I'll be doing most of the talking today. With me today in the room, I've got as well Francois Kutsia from Sasol. Francois will help in answering some of the questions and giving a bit more background on one or two things where needed. And then also we've got Melissa and Monique with us here at from our outreach team, who some of you might have been in contact with you to get to the session. Melissa will be doing most of the moderation on the questions. So on that point, on your right-hand side of your screen, you will see a live chat or a live Q&A. And on that, you can pose questions to us. We will answer them in private to you, or then alternatively, we'll publish them and I'll answer them for the bigger forum. So at any point in time, please feel free to pose any questions. So if we move on, and if you can perhaps at this point in time, please open your mobile phones for me and go to www.menti.com. And when you're in that with your mobile phone on any web browser, please use this code to enter, or alternatively, you can scan the QR code as presented on the screen. So for the session, please watch the presentation on your desktop screen or your computer screen. There will be here and there a couple of input questions or inputs we need from you. And if you don't mind in using then your mobile phone and going to menti.com or using this QR code to enter whatever is asked on the screen. So if you can use that, and please fill in the attendance register for us, I'll appreciate that. I'll give a couple of moments for that. So sorry guys, just to go there again, to show it again, please go to menti.com on your mobile, any browser, Google, Safari, doesn't really matter, any browser, or scan the QR code as provided on the screen. I'll open it for another couple of seconds, and then please fill in the attendance register for us. Thank you. I see some progress on it. We've got about 20 to 21 attendees on the web session, and 8 of them has filled it in. I unfortunately need you to fill it in, and I can't necessarily move on without getting everybody's details. So if you don't mind, please fill it in. If you don't have your mobile handy, open maybe another browse session on your computer, and then fill it in on another browse session. Okay, I see there's a couple of people just joined. Sorry, guys, for the others who's been on for a while. Just going to give them a moment or so to complete the attendee register. For those of you who joined late, if you can please open your mobile phones or then a separate web browser and use go to menti.com and use this code. The code will be displayed now on the results as well, on the attendance register page as well, or use this QR code to scan. And if you can please submit your details in terms of the attendance register for us. I'm going to keep it open for about 10 seconds or so, go back to the page and give another 1 minute for everybody to complete. Thanks a lot. Right, guys, thanks a lot. Appreciate that. I see most of this has completed it. For those of you who haven't completed, please complete. So if we continue, maybe stay on your mobile phone. And if you don't mind and give us a bit of a view or an insight of what is one of the biggest challenges you face today in terms of your business with Natref, or then in terms of your general business in totality. So if you can please go to your mobile again, use the same code, or if you just go on the next one, it will give you options where you can choose, and as you answer, the answers will be displayed on the screen. So I'm going to give a minute or three for everybody to put in their answers. Right, thanks guys, appreciate your input and your response. So if we have a look at it and sort of, we got a fair amount of responses for all the attendees currently. It looks like at this point in time, the winner is late payments, and then closely followed by invoice approval. And then there's also guys who says they've got challenges in terms of visibility and then cash flow. I see we've got a two-horse race now, which is pretty much the same in terms of invoice approval and late payments. And thanks for that insight. I think we're going to move on to the next slide, and then some of these answers or some of these challenges that you've expressed now, hopefully in what we're going to tell you a bit later on, might improve some of those challenges in your lives. So on to the sort of the next slide, and that's a bit of an agenda in terms of the rest of the session and what you can expect from the session. So firstly, just an introduction to the new Natref early payment program. Then we're going to talk a bit about the benefits of the program. How does the Talia platform work? What comes next in terms of you, and what do we need from you? So once again, at any point in time, if there's any question, if there's anything you want to ask, the live event Q&A session on the right-hand side of your screen, you can pose a question there. Like I said, Melissa is on standby to be the moderator of that. She'll either answer you in private, or then we will publish the question and we'll discuss it for the broader audience. So moving on to the next slide, if you can go back to your mobile once again, guys, quickly, and if you can please give us just a view in terms of the type of organization that you guys represent. Is it the corporate, big corporate? Is it the financial, government? What type of institution do you guys represent? Right, so I see most of us, or the majority of the answers, 2/3 from working for corporates or representing corporates. Some say other. So I guess a lot of you guys maybe in smaller businesses, self-owned, SME type of businesses maybe. I see we're still sitting with a 2/3 sort of split between the two. So thanks for that. That gives us a bit of an idea in terms of the audience we'll be talking about, what size of business you represent, and based on those challenges as well, going on to the next slide, in terms of the next slides, what we need to focus on a bit more. So why are we here today? And then I started off with this and said 2020, what a year. And I think not to bore you guys with the details or anything, I think it's been a global pandemic and a global thing that happens in our lives. So with COVID-19 happening and the effects it had on our personal lives and our businesses, the squeeze for cash is even bigger than ever before. So based on this tight economical climate and part of Natref's journey to enhance their supplier relationships, we are proud today to announce to you the new Natref Early Payment Program. The purpose today is to introduce you and to invite you to the program and to align certain expectations around it. So just a note on it in terms of what we further display and when you onboard on the program and based on certain rates and conditions that might be offered on the program as you got invited, those could change over time. Just as your business climate changes, so can Natref's business climate change, and some of these offers as represented today might change going forward. So if we introduce it quickly, it's a program for suppliers to request early payments as soon as Natref approves its invoices, to obtain cash more quickly to increase their liquidity or gain visibility into their invoices and their payments. As a quick note and a couple of bullets, or before I go there, to introduce sort of other parties that will talk to you today and that you will, logos and brands you will see. The early payment program is hosted and supported by Talia Intellection, like previously said, myself from Intellection. We are the onboarding and implementation partner of Talia, who is the platform provider. So like I said, most of you guys would have been exposed to the onboarding team by virtue of sending an invite and getting you to the session today. The Talia platform is the platform we're going to show a bit later on in the demo, and that's the platform where you can request these early payments and obtain that cash and gain visibility into your accounts payable transactions, whether that is invoices or payments. A couple of high-level notes in terms of the program. There's no size restriction on the program, so all companies of all size, of all industries are welcome to participate. It's a quick and easy process. It's 90 seconds onboarding and quick to start. There's no additional documentation required, and it's free of charge. I'm going to reiterate some of these benefits a bit later. So moving on to our next slide and looking at some of the benefits of the program and going into more detail, and some of them I already sort of mentioned, is you've got 100% transparency in terms of what your accounts payable transactions look like. In other words, at any point in time, you can go and log in and view what is the status of that specific invoice or transaction you're looking at. From an accounts receivable perspective, it can decrease your effort in terms of collections a whole lot. There's no underwriting or other paperwork required to join the program. This is off-balance sheet funding in terms of you can get sort of paid earlier for your accounts payable transactions without any other balance sheet transaction you need to recognize or account for. It doesn't affect at all your credit limits with your current credit limits with your business. Some other examples, and we're gonna in the next few slides, we're going to show 2 quick videos of some other suppliers on Sasol and the Talia platform and what they say. But some other guys can use it or an example to pay your suppliers early and even gain some discount from them. So going on to those suppliers. What do your fellow suppliers say? I'm going to play 2 quick videos in terms of what these suppliers said based on a recording we did at the beginning of the year on a working capital summit that was held in Johannesburg.
Well, my name is Warren Fisher and my company is called Warren Fisher Designs. What we do is we manufacture and supply specialist tooling and equipment to the industry in South Africa. So if you have a month where the next lot of purchase orders is delayed by even a week for whatever reason on the client end, you then find yourself in that gap unless you now go and apply for finance from one of the banking institutions. Can lead to a few cash flow issues. From my perspective as a small business owner, your confidence level in what you're doing and how you're going about it is an order of magnitude higher if you've got some cash in the bank, if you're waiting 30 days for that cash to come, because there's always that anxiety. Are we going about this the right way? Are we in the right field? I immediately saw the benefit. You know, the moment I actually read the brief of what the meeting was going to be about, I saw the benefit and I wanted to sign up. From month 1, it's worked and it's worked well. This very month, this very week, we made a delivery last week, Wednesday. By today, the monies have been paid.
My name is Rocky Schmidt. I'm the owner and MD and Chief Cook and Bottle Wash for a company called Direct Trading. We primarily build trailers. We're a manufacturing concern. You'll see us under the Campmaster brand. You'll see we call them white goods that you see on the roads all over the place nowadays. We spent a lot of time digging into how do we fund this business? What do we do? You know, using all the conventional funding methods, seeing what's there. We all know, and it's pretty trite, that banks, I don't want to knock them too hard because they've also been my partners in this, but they're not going to fund you when you need the money. Factoring is just prohibitively expensive. Now suddenly our business almost doubled. What do we do with this? How do we fund this? What do we make? It's almost impossible. You know, after that amount of time, there was no funding left. We were approached by our big customer who deals with Talia, and the system was in place. I think it was right in the launch phase. We must have been one of the first people that actually did it, which was quite amazing. Went in, signed one piece of paper, the bit of negotiation obviously with a big retailer, signed one piece of paper, clicked onto the portal, and that's it. We were up and going. And suddenly we had this ability where we could take our cash flow, which was normally tied up for in excess of 60 days, and it was available to us now. Getting this cash flow in earlier made a big difference. Even with our suppliers, you can imagine that over the last 8-9 years, we've had a very rocky relationship with our suppliers. Now suddenly you're in a place where you can go to them and say, listen, I need a bulk order, and I'm prepared to pay cash for it. And the knock-on effect into our suppliers themselves was huge. And we actually saw that because, you know, now we can forecast with confidence, where we can pay them with confidence. We know the money's coming in when it's coming in. And the simplicity of using the system, it was, is there a cost? Is it difficult? Is there an integration? There's not. It's very, very simple. It is on the portal. You just click on it. It's done. I'm actually one of the largest employers in Boertable. And as we know in this country, each person that we employ is mostly supporting 8 other people. So we had to take that very, very seriously and put everything into it. There's a huge vacuum in the market that we're busy filling at the moment. And it's not a vacuum that a competitor can get into, but it's something that we need to fill. And the program will help fund that. So once we normalize the business, we may not need the cash flow on a day-to-day basis for normalization and running the business normally, but we will need that cash flow to be able to grow the business and stretch it into something new.
Right, guys, so a couple of stories in terms of other suppliers, in terms of their experience of similar programs, in terms of their businesses and what it meant to them. So hopefully some testimony in terms of what your fellow supplier says and not necessarily what I'm trying to tell you today in terms of the experience. So coming up next, how does the Talia platform work? So if we go further in the next slide, step 1, Natref approves your invoice and makes it available for early payment. So maybe a comment, a note, and maybe to stand still on this specific point is your invoice submission and approval procedures and protocols from a Natref perspective will not change with the early payment program. It will stay exactly the same. So however you submitted invoices previously, whether it was by virtue of a REBA or some manual submission, and whatever that approval process will be, stays exactly the same. There's no change in it. Where Talia comes in is only after that invoice becomes approved, it becomes available for early payment. So let me try and explain and elaborate a bit more. From a transactional perspective, and then the technology or ERPs used is, Natref has got SAP, which is their ERP system, and then they've got Ariba, which is the invoice submission and approval system. That, like I said, stays the same, or then alternatively, you submit your invoices manually as you did before. Whatever those approvals and protocols will be is, your invoice will become visible on Talia once it got submitted, and then it will become available for early payment once it gets approved. Once again, everything stays the same, including your current payment term. So whatever your payment term is of today, that will stay the same. So once that invoice then gets approved, it will be made visible on the platform, and then step 2, you as the supplier can choose for early payment. So step 3, Natref pays your invoice early, and just to make a note on that is Natref will pay the first available early payment date will be 2 days from today. In other words, if you log on to the portal today, your first available payment date will only be for Wednesday. There's always a 2-day buffer period for Natref to make sure that they acquire sufficient cash flow to pay for all these early payment requests. So the first available payment day will be only 2 days from now. There's no payments over weekends and public holidays. So if that's in between, there might be a bigger gap in terms of when your first available payment date will be. After you've clicked that, and we will show that in the demo video coming up just now, you will then get access to your to that cash. And I think similarly as you are used to today, if you are with Absa Bank and Natref pays you today, you'll get the money today or see it in your bank today. If you're not with Absa, some of the other house banks in South Africa, you will only see it the next day. No different than today. There will be a 24-hour clearing if you're not with Absa Bank. Right, so if we carry on, and like you guys can see, a very, very simple process to get paid early. From a supplier perspective, if you shout and you say, I need cash, there's a couple of options you can get that cash. One is called cash flow, and that's an option as soon as Natref approves your invoice, early payment can be requested. In the demo, we'll go into a bit more detail of that. And then there's another sort of option that's right now, in other words, at any point in time on a more ad hoc basis, to say on individual invoices, on certain invoices, on all invoices available, you can then request early payment. We'll go into the detail of those specific options based on the demo video we'll show in a couple of slides. So talking about that demo, if we then go into it, and this video, guys, is quite a long video, but it will show the complete functionality and how to do everything on the Talia platform.
When logging on to the home screen, you will be welcomed as per the name you entered in your activation process. On the home page, there is 4 menu items: Invoices, Payments, Cash Planner and Custom FAQs. These will also associate with the 3 icons you see in terms of My Invoices, My Payments and Cash Planner. The remainder of the home page have got to do with early payment availability and early payment requests. The first section allows you to request early payment on all transactions eligible for early payment by the click of a button. This section will show the total invoice value and count available for early payment. The platform will automatically request early payments on all invoices based on their individual. With the three icons you see in terms of My Invoices, My Payments and Cash Planner. The remainder of the home page have got to do with early payment availability and early payment requests. The first section allows you to request early payment on all transactions eligible for early payment by the click of a button. This section will show the total invoice value and count available for early payment. The platform will automatically request early payments on all invoices based on their individual due dates to the next available payment date. The second section will only be visible when cash flow is not enabled. Cash flow is a function that, when enabled, automatically requests early payments on all transactions as soon as they are eligible for early payment. The platform will request an early payment on each transaction based on each transaction's individual due date to be paid on the next available payment date. The third section gives detail of up to a maximum of 6 individual transactions eligible for early payment. To see the detail of all invoices eligible for early payment, the button on the bottom of the section needs to be executed. To select early payment on an individual transaction, you need to execute the My Offers button. A new pop-up screen will be visible. The pop-up is split into 3 steps, each step containing information regarding the early payment on offer. Step 1. Review invoice details. The first step gives general information relating to the transaction. The transaction's invoice number, gross amount, invoice due date and current payment terms are all displayed here. If the transaction's payment term contains settlement discount, the net amount after the settlement discount will be displayed under gross amount. Step 2. Select early payment date. The second step gives the ability to select the day which you want to get paid on. The early payment date, days accelerated, discount rate and discount amount will be displayed here. The platform will default to the next available payment date indicated in a dark blue color. You can change the payment date to any available payment date on the calendar. Available payment dates are based on each customer's specific payment procedure and are indicated as a light blue color. Based on your selection of the payment date, the values displayed in this section will be changed to the new selected parameters. The discount is based on a dynamic scale. In other words, the closer you select to get paid to your original due the date, the smallest the discount will be. In return, the earlier you request payment based on the original due date, the bigger the discount will get. Step 3. Review offer and submit request. The last step gives a summary of the offer selected. The early payment date, original invoice value, discount amount and total payment amount will be displayed here. Once you are happy with the offer, you can submit your request for early payment. A pop-up message confirming your request will be displayed. The message will also give the ability to enable cash flow as explained earlier. The submitted transaction's status will be changed to requested. Invoices. To have a detailed view of all your account payable transactions, the My Invoices or Invoices button requires execution. A new screen will be opened with the 10 most recent invoices or credit notes. The listing will by default be filtered for all unpaid transactions. The listing could, however, be filtered for various other statuses. The listing can also be downloaded as a PDF, Excel or CSV file. Payments. To have a detailed view of all your account payable payments received, the My Payments or Payments button requires execution. A new screen will be opened with the 10 most recent payments received. Advanced filtering options is available to expand or narrow down your search. The listing can be downloaded as a PDF, Excel or CSV file. To view the invoices and credit notes associated with the payment, you need to click on the payment reference number. A pop-up with detail relating the associated invoice and credit notes will be opened. The remittance can be downloaded as a PDF, Excel or CSV file. Cash Planner. Cash Planner is a useful piece of functionality if you require a certain amount of fund by a specific date. To go to the Cash Planner page, use either the icon or the main menu command. In the Cash Planner page, you need to select your desired payment date. Choose the currency of the transactions you would like to be eligible for selection. For this program, only ZAR is available. Input the required amount and execute the Run Cash Planner button. The platform will propose invoices available for early payment meeting your input criteria. The platform will use invoices closest to the due date first in its proposal. You can edit the results of the proposal by adding or deselecting any other invoice eligible for early payment. Once you are satisfied with the combination of invoices, you can request the early payment offer by executing either one of the two Pay Me Early buttons. FAQs. In the custom FAQ section, you will get answers to frequently asked questions. This section also contains information on the customer specifics around the program. The FAQ section addresses topics like using Towler, early payment options, invoice detail and status, payments, and general inquiry contact details. Cash flow. To enable cash flow, you can either do it on the home screen or navigate to Settings and click on Cash flow. Once cash flow is enabled, you can only access the cash flow page via the Settings button. On the cash flow page, you will have the option to enable or disable cash flow. Once selected to enable or disable, a pop-up screen will appear to confirm your selection. On this page, you will also find an illustration of the dynamic nature of how the discount is charged. Users Management. The User Management page can be accessed by navigating to Setting and clicking on User Management. In the User Management page, you could either edit or delete existing users and add new users. User Passwords Resets is also available on this page. Login. After entering your username and password, and if you have multiple customer accounts on the Towler platform, you will be presented with a customer selection page. Click on the drop-down and select the desired customers. You will be directed to the selected customers' transactions. For Natref, Sasol Natref ERP should be selected. Once you are in a specific customer's Towler portal and you would like to change to another customer, you should navigate to the top right-hand side of the page. Click on the Change Client option. A drop-down with all available customers will appear. The current selected customer will be indicated with a green correct sign. Click on the desired customer you would like to go to. The new selected customer's transactions will now be viable.
Good. So I hope sort of that explained the ease of use and all the various functionalities of the portal, and maybe a couple of two other notes before we go into cancellation and exceptions, or to stress a couple of other important factors. The platform is there for obviously to request early payment if you've got that need. Like explained, the platform can be used either for regular early payment from a cash flow perspective, or then for ad hoc early payment. The platform can also be used just from a visibility perspective. In other words, just to have a view on your invoices, to download your remittances into an Excel, to make your AR collections and allocations a lot easier or better. So once again, it's free of charge. There's no charge involved with it. As many possible users as you want, you can onboard onto the program. No extra user charges. No software needed, just an internet browser needed for the program. And then if you don't have a need for early payments today, who knows, the future might change and you might need it. And I always used to say it's sort of for that rainy day, so rather you do it now, the day you need it, it is in place. So just a note on that. If we then talk a bit further about early payment requests, cancellations and exceptions, once you've requested for early payment, unfortunately, and you confirmed those early payments as per shown on the demo and the confirmations you do require to click on there, unfortunately, you can't cancel it. that is as good as sort of the credit card being swiped at the store and the money being out of your account. From an exception perspective, if I talk about prepayments, if you know what I'm talking about, the rest will make sense. If you don't know what a prepayment is, don't necessarily listen too much what I say about the prepayment side. If it's an example, and let me take an example, you might have a big project and or a big a piece of machinery or equipment or whatever you need to give to Natref, and it's let's say for R1 million, and you only get paid that R1 million once everything has been delivered. However, you would need 300,000 Rand to do an upfront order of something. Natref might pay you a 300,000 Rand prepayment, and then another invoice not associated with this specific R1 million or 300,000 Rand might be available for early payment. You might ask for it, and then you'll get a response back that unfortunately you can't be paid for it because the early payment or the prepayment value should first be fulfilled that total invoice. So once again, the guys who knows about prepayments and have received them previously will understand what I'm talking about. If you haven't received prepayments or you don't know what it is, then almost ignore just what I said now. You will, however, get informed about these effective payments if it is sort of influencing your transactions. Right, so what comes next? So from a supplier engagement activity perspective, most of you would have received a notification of the project, which was sent about 2 or 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks ago. You received the invite to this session. We are sitting on the session today. What you will get is an invitation to activate your account in the next 3 to 7 days. Like I said, then there's the 90-second onboarding process. If you've got really good internet speed and you can type fast, you can probably do it in 20 to 30 seconds. Then once you log on to the portal, there'll be a global announcement, which is just a welcoming message for you on the portal. And while you're in the portal, there's a whole host of other supporting collateral. On the FAQs, as explained in the demo, there's links to the knowledge base and a couple of other how-to and educational videos. There's the frequently asked questions. There's also a supply educational website, which is showed in the FAQs, and there you can download a brochure, which gives a bit more detail of what the program is about. So moving forward from that and talking about the invitation, this is how the invitation will look. It's an email that will be sent from donot.reply@supplier.sasol.com. And when you click the activate button, a screen will open, which requires your email address, your language, your first name, your last name, the password you require, and then activate my account. Once you've done that, you'll be in the portal and you'll be ready to view early payments, to view invoices and payments, and to request early payments based on the eligibility of those individual transactions. So from an assistance perspective, if you require any assistance, in terms of the approval and the submission part of your invoice, Natref Sasol will be your first port of call. Front Trust team contact at sasolsharedservices.com. Or then if you've got inquiries with regards to early payments and then specifically around the portal, either Intellection, us, or the Italia support site will be your place to submit those support questions. So what do we need from you? And I think if I go on to the next slide, then you can start getting your mobile phones ready for me again, please. I said earlier we don't require any paperwork, and I guess that's not completely a lie, but we do need some info from you. And the first point here is assisting with the correct invitee details. So for the platform to be invited, the first invite we can send only to one person. Thereafter, as we explained on the demo video, you can invite as many users as you want. So what we would like to require from you guys on the session are, would you be the correct person to invite? If not, if you can point us to that correct person, And then lastly, participation in the program. To use the program as seen fit for early payments, for visibility, and then if you've got other fellow suppliers who you think will benefit from this, to please get them in contact with us. So if you can go to your mobiles once again, and I'm just going to open Menti and the voting instructions quickly, and if you can please submit to us there if you will be the correct person to be invited as the admin user. So either go to on your mobile to menti.com and enter the code 4473910, or alternatively use the QR code as presented here to scan. I will give about 5 seconds on this screen, and then we'll go back to sort of the answers of that last screen. Thanks, guys, for submitting these answers. Still waiting for a last couple. I'm going to give another minute or two, and then we're going to carry on. I see we're almost out of time as well. Then we're going to wrap up the session. Okay, guys, thanks a lot. I think we're gonna continue. For those who are still busy with that last part in terms of are you the correct person to be invited as your initial admin user, if you can please submit that for us, then I'll appreciate that. And that sort of brings us to the last part, and that's a Q&A part. So I know there was 1 or 2 questions asked by a couple of people, which Melissa did respond to. But if there's any other questions, if you can please use the live Q&A to ask them now. I'm going to give you about a minute for all these questions, and then we will address all of them, and then we can close off the session. So I'll give a minute to get some questions in, and then we'll answer them, and we'll close the session then. So I think there was one question coming up from Tulani. Thanks, Tulani. What are the related costs for this process? So from a platform perspective, in terms of to sign on and to sign up, it's free of charge. There's no cost related to it. However, if you request early payments on specific transactions, each and every supplier will have an individual rate based on their specific supplier segmentation and specifics. And based on that rate and based on your payment term, the discount will change depending on how many days early you request early payment on it. So let's take an example. If you've got an invoice that is applicable to a 60-day payment term, SAS or Natref approves that invoice sort of after day 10. In other words, then there's 50 days left for acceleration. In other words, what you can get it paid earlier. It all depends. If you want to get it 50 days earlier, your discount will be a bigger percentage than taking it 10 days earlier than your original due date. So I hope that answers you in terms of that cost. It will be different to each and every one, each and every supplier, similarly to your payment terms. Once you get onboarded, you will have, however, a view of what that discount rates will be. So I'm not seeing any other questions coming through, guys. I'm going to start closing off, and then if there's another question, I'll obviously answer that. But thanks once again for your time and attendance. Thanks for your input on all the answers. I really appreciate that. I hope everything, you could hear me quite clearly and you could see all the videos on your side. One last thing is that if you perhaps need a copy of the presentation or the recording, please be in contact with one of the agents that got you to the session, and then based on that, we will make sure that we send it to you. Thanks once again. Have a great and a safe day, and be good.